Chapter 11, Your Most Precious Commodity. While arranged time is the surest mark of a well-arranged mind, Sir Isaac Pitman, you know what's funny about life? Julian asked me, tell me, by the time most people figure out what they really want and how to go about attaining it, it's usually too late. That saying, if youth only knew, if age only could, is so true. Is that what the stopwatch in Yogi Raman's fable is all about? Yes. The naked 9-foot-tall, 900-pound sumo wrestler with the pink wire cable covering his private parts slips on a shiny gold stopwatch that someone has left in the beautiful garden. Julian reminded me. How could I forget? I replied, breaking into a grin. By now I had realized that Yogi Raman's mystical fable was nothing more than a series of memory pegs designed to teach Julian the elements of his ancient philosophy for enlightened living, while at the same time helping him remember it. I shared my discovery with him. The sixth sense of a litigator. You are quite right. My wise teacher's methods appeared odd at first, and I struggled to understand the significance of his tale, just as you wondered what I was speaking of when I first shared it with you. But I must tell you, John, all 7 elements of the story, from the garden and the naked sumo wrestler to the yellow roses and the path of diamonds, which I am soon getting to, serve as powerful reminders of the wisdom I learned in Savannah. The garden keeps me focused on inspiring thoughts. The lighthouse reminds me that the purpose of life is a life of purpose. The sumo wrestler keeps me centered on continuous self-discovery, while the pink wire cable links me to the wonders of willpower. A day doesn't pass without me thinking about the fable and considering the principles Yogi Raman taught me. And exactly what does the shiny gold stopwatch represent? It is a symbol of our most important commodity, time. What about positive thinking and goal-getting and self-mastery? They all mean nothing without time. About 6 months after I made the delightful forest retreat in Savannah my temporary home, one of the sages came to my hut of roses while I was studying. Her name was Divya. She was a stunningly beautiful woman with jet black hair that fell just below her waist, and in a very gentle and sweet voice she informed me that she was the youngest of all the sages living in that secret mountain abode. She also said that she had come to me on the instructions of Yogi Raman, who had told her that I was the best student he had ever had. Maybe it is all the pain you suffered in your former life that has allowed you to embrace our wisdom with such an open heart, she stated. As the youngest of our community, I have been asked to bring you a gift. It is from all of us, and we offer it as a token of our respect for you, one who has traveled so far to learn our ways. At no point have you judged us or ridiculed our traditions. So, though you have now decided to leave us within a few weeks, we consider you one of our own. No outsider has ever received what I am about to give you. What was the gift? I asked impatiently. Divya pulled out an object from her homespun cotton bag and handed it to me. Wrapped in a fragrant cover of some type of paper, was something I never thought I'd see there in a million years. It was a miniature hourglass which had been made from blown glass and a small piece of sandalwood. Seeing my expression, Divya quickly told me that each of the sages had received one of these instruments as children. Though we have no possessions and live pure, simple lives, we respect time and note its passing. These little hourglasses serve as daily reminders of our mortality and the importance of living full, productive days while advancing our purposes. These monks up in the highest reaches of the Himalayan mountains kept time. Each and every one of them understood the importance of time. They each had developed what I call a time consciousness. You see, I learned that time slips through our hands like grains of sand, never to return. Those who use time wisely from an early age are rewarded with rich, productive, and satisfying lives. Those who have never been exposed to the principle that time mastery is life mastery will never realize their enormous human potential. Time is the great leveler. Whether we are privileged or disadvantaged, whether we live in Texas or Tokyo, we all have been allotted days, with only 24 hours. What separates those who build exceptional lives from the also-rans is the way they use this time. I once heard my father say that it was the busiest people who have time to spare. What do you make of that? I agree. Busy, productive people are highly efficient with their time. They must be in order to survive. Being an excellent time manager doesn't mean that you must become a workaholic. On the contrary, time mastery allows you more time to do the things you love to do, the things that are truly meaningful to you. Time mastery leads to life mastery. Guard time well. Remember, it's a non-renewable resource. Let me give you an example, Julian offered. Let's say it's Monday morning and your schedule is overflowing with appointments, meetings, and court appearances. Rather than getting up at your usual 6:30 a.m., gulping down a cup of java, speeding off to work and then spending a stressful day of catch-up, let's say you took 15 minutes the night before to plan your day. Or to be even more effective, let's say you took 1 hour on your quiet Sunday morning to organize your entire week. In your daily planner, you wrote out when you would meet with your clients, when you would do legal research, and when you would return phone calls. Most importantly, your personal, social, and spiritual development goals for the week also went into your agenda book. This simple act is the secret to a life of balance. By anchoring all the most vital aspects of your life into your daily schedule, you ensure that your week and your life retain a sense of meaning and peace. Surely you're not suggesting that I take a break in the middle of my busy workday to walk in the park or meditate? I sure am. Why are you so rigidly bound to convention? Why do you feel that you have to do things the same way as everyone else? Run your own race. Why not start working an hour earlier, so that you will have the luxury of taking a serene mid-morning walk in that beautiful park across from your office? Or why not put in a few extra hours at the beginning of your week so that you can cut out early on Friday to take your kids to the zoo? Or why not start working at home 2 days a week so that you can see more of your family? All I'm saying is plan your week and manage your time creatively. Have the discipline to focus your time around your priorities. The most meaningful things in your life should never be sacrificed to those that are the least meaningful. And remember, failing to plan is planning to fail. By writing down not only your appointments with others but also those all-important appointments with yourself to read, relax, or write a love letter to your wife, you will be far more productive with your time. Never forget that time spent enriching your non-work hours is never a waste. It makes you tremendously efficient during your working hours. Stop living your life in compartments and understand once and for all that all you do forms one indivisible whole. The way you act at home affects the way you act at work. The way you treat people at the office affects the way you will treat your family and friends. I agree, Julian, but I really don't have the time to take breaks in the middle of my day. As it is, I work most evenings. My schedule is really crushing these days. As I said this, I felt my stomach tingling at the mere thought of the mountain of work I was facing. Being busy is no excuse. The real question is, what are you so busy about? One of the great rules I learned from that wise old sage is that 80% of the results you achieve in your life come from only 20% of the activities that occupy your time. Yogi Raman called it the ancient rule of 20. I'm not sure I follow you. Okay. Let's go back to your busy Monday. From morning until night you might spend your time doing everything from chatting on the phone with clients and drafting legal pleadings to reading your youngest child a bedtime story or playing chess with your wife. Agreed, but out of all of the hundreds of activities you give your time to, only 20% of those will yield real, lasting results. Only 20% of what you do will have an influence on the quality of your life. These are your high-impact activities. For example, 10 years from now, do you really think all the time you spent gossiping at the water cooler or sitting in some smoke-filled lunch room or watching television will count for anything? No, not really, right? So I'm sure you will also agree there are a number of activities that will count for everything. You mean like time spent improving my legal knowledge, time spent enriching my relationships with my clients, and time invested in becoming a more efficient lawyer? Yes, and time spent nourishing your relationship with Jenny and the kids. Time spent connecting with nature and showing gratitude for all that you are so fortunate to have. Time spent renewing your mind, your body, and your spirit. These are just a few of the high-impact activities that will allow you to design the life you deserve. Direct all of your time to those activities that count. Enlightened people are priority-driven. This is the secret of time mastery. Wow. Yogi Raman taught you all that. I have become a student of life, John. Yogi Raman certainly was a wonderful and inspiring teacher, and I will never forget him for that. But all of the lessons I have learned from my varied experiences have now come together like pieces of a big jigsaw puzzle to show me the way to a better life. Julian added, I hope you will learn from my earlier mistakes. Some people learn from the errors others have made. They are the wise. Others feel that true learning comes only from personal experience. Such people endure needless pain and distress over the course of their lives. I had been to many seminars on time management as a lawyer, yet I had never heard the philosophy of time mastery that Julian was now sharing with me. Time management was not just something to focus on at the office and discard at closing time. It was a holistic system that could make all areas of my life more balanced and fulfilling if I applied it correctly. I learned that by planning my days and taking the time to ensure that I was balanced in the use of my time, I would not only be far more productive, I would be far happier. So life is like a fat strip of bacon, I chimed in. You have to separate the meat from the fat in order to be the master of your time. Very good. You're on to it now. And though my vegetarian side tells me to do otherwise, I love the analogy because it hits the nail right on the head. When you spend your time and precious mental energy focusing on the meat, you have no time to waste on the fat. This is the point at which your life moves from the realm of the ordinary into the exquisiteness of the extraordinary. This is when you really start to make things happen, and the doors to the temple of enlightenment suddenly swing open, Julian observed. That brings me to another point. Don't let others steal your time. Be wary of time thieves. These are the people who always call on the telephone just as you have put the kids to sleep and have settled into your favorite chair to read the thrilling novel you have heard so much about. These are the people who have a knack of dropping by your office just as you have found a few minutes in the midst of a hectic day to catch your breath and collect your thoughts. Does this sound familiar? As usual, Julian, you're right on the money. I guess I have always been too polite to ask them to leave or to keep my door shut. I confided, you must be ruthless with your time. Learn to say no. Having the courage to say no to the little things in life will give you the power to say yes to the big things. Shut the door to your office when you need a few hours to work on that big case. Remember what I told you. Don't pick up the phone every time it rings. It is there for your convenience, not the convenience of others. Ironically, people will respect you more when they see that you are a person who values his time. They will realize that your time is precious and they will value it. What about procrastination? All too often I keep putting off the things that I don't like doing and instead find myself sifting through junk mail or flipping those legal magazines. Maybe I'm just killing time. Killing time is an apt metaphor. True, it is human nature to do things that feel good and avoid the things that feel bad. But as I said earlier, the most productive people in this world have cultivated the habit of doing the things that less productive people don't like doing, even though they too might not like doing them. I stopped and thought deeply about the principle I had just heard. Perhaps procrastination was not my problem. Maybe my life had simply become too complex. Julian sensed my concern. Yogi Raman told me that those who are masters of their time live simple lives. A hurried, frenzied pace is not what nature intended. While he firmly believed that lasting happiness could be reached only by those who were effective and set definite aims for themselves, living a life rich with accomplishment and contribution did not have to come through the sacrifice of peace of mind. This is what I found so fascinating about the wisdom I was hearing. It allowed me to be productive and yet fulfill my spiritual longings. I started to open myself even more to Julian. You have always been honest and forthright with me, so I will be the same with you. I don't want to give up my practice and my house and my car to be happier and more satisfied. I like my toys and the material things I have earned. They are my rewards for all the hours I have worked over the years since we first met. But I feel empty, I really do. I told you about my dreams when I was in law school. There is so much more I could do with my life. You know, I'm almost 40 and I have never been to the Grand Canyon or the Eiffel Tower. I've never walked in a desert or canoed across a still lake on a gorgeous summer's day. I have never once taken off my socks and shoes and walked barefoot through a park, listening to the kids laugh and the dogs bark. I can't even remember the last time I took a long, quiet walk by myself after a snowfall just to hear the sounds and to enjoy the sensations. Then simplify your life. Julian suggested sympathetically, apply the ancient ritual of simplicity to every aspect of your world. By doing so, you are bound to have more time to savor these glorious wonders. One of the most tragic things that any one of us can do is to put off living. Too many people are dreaming of some magical rose garden on the horizon rather than enjoying the one growing in our backyards. What a tragedy. Any suggestions that I will leave to your own imagination? I have shared many of the strategies I learned from the sages with you. They will work wonders if you have the courage to apply them. Oh, that reminds me of another thing that I do to make sure my life stays calm and simple. What's that? I love to have a quick nap in the afternoon. I find it keeps me energetic, refreshed, and youthful. I guess you could say that I need my beauty sleep. Julian laughed. Beauty has never been one of your strong points, a sense of humor has always been one of yours, and for this I commend you. Always remember the power of laughter. Like music, it is a wonderful tonic for life's stresses and strains. I think Yogi Raman said it best when he said, laughter opens your heart and soothes your soul. No one should ever take life so seriously that they forget to laugh at themselves. Julian had one final thought to share on the subject of time. Perhaps most importantly, John, stop acting like you have 500 years to live. When Divya brought that little hourglass to me, she offered some advice that I will never forget. What did she say? She told me that the best time to plant a tree was 40 years ago. The second best time is today. Don't waste even 1 minute of your day. Develop a deathbed mentality. I beg your pardon? I asked, struck by the graphic term Julian had employed. What's a deathbed mentality? It is a new way of looking at your life, a more empowering paradigm, if you will, one that reminds you that today could be your last, so savor it to the fullest. Sounds kind of morbid, if you ask me. It makes me think about death. Actually, it's a philosophy about life. When you adopt a deathbed mentality, you live every day as if it was your last. Imagine waking up every day and asking yourself the simple question, what would I do today if it was my last? Then think about how you would treat your family, your colleagues, and even those who you don't know. Think about how productive and excited you would be to live every moment to the maximum. The deathbed question alone has the power to change your life. It will energize your days and bring a rush of zest and spirit to all that you do. You will start focusing on all the meaningful things that you have been putting off, and stop squandering time on all those petty things that have dragged you down into the quagmire of crisis and chaos. Julian continued. Push yourself to do more and to experience more. Harness your energy to start expanding your dreams. Yes, expand your dreams. Don't accept a life of mediocrity when you hold such infinite potential within the fortress of your mind. Dare to tap into your greatness. This is your birthright. Powerful stuff. Here's more. There is a simple remedy to break the spell of frustration that plagues so many people. My cup is still empty, I said softly. Act as if failure is impossible, and your success will be assured. Wipe out every thought of not achieving your objectives, whether they are material or spiritual. Be brave and set no limits on the workings of your imagination. Never be a prisoner of your past, become the architect of your future. You will never be the same. As the city started to awaken and the morning grew into full bloom, my ageless friend started to show the first signs of weariness after a night spent sharing his knowledge with an eager student. I had been astonished by Julian's stamina, his boundless energy, and his endless enthusiasm. He not only talked his talk, he walked his walk. We are moving to the end of Yogi Raman's magical fable and approaching the time when I must leave you, he said gently. I have much to do and many more people to meet. Are you going to tell your partners that you have returned home? I asked, my curiosity getting the better of me. Probably not, Julian replied. I am so different from the Julian Mantle they knew. I don't think the same thoughts, I don't wear the same clothes, I don't do the same things. I am a fundamentally changed person. They wouldn't recognize me. You really are a new man, I agreed, chuckling inwardly as I pictured this mystical monk adorned in the traditional robes of savannah stepping into the striking red Ferrari of his former life. A new being is probably even more accurate. I don't see the distinction, I confessed. There is an ancient saying in India, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. I now understand my role in the universe. I see what I am. I'm no longer in the world. The world is in me. I'm going to have to chew on that one for a while, I said in total honesty. not quite comprehending what Julian was talking about. Sure. I understand, my friend. A time will come when you are clear on what I am saying. If you follow the principles I have revealed to you and apply the techniques I have offered, you will surely advance along the path of enlightenment. You will come to master the art of personal government. You will see your life for what it really is, a small blip on the canvas of eternity. And you will come to see clearly who you are and the ultimate purpose of your life, which is to serve, of course. No matter how big a house you have or how slick a car you drive, the only thing you can take with you at the end of your life is your conscience. Listen to your conscience, let it guide you. It knows what is right. It will tell you that your calling in life is ultimately selfless service to others in some form or another. This is what my personal odyssey has taught me. Now, I have so many others to see, serve, and heal. My mission is to spread the ancient wisdom of the sages of Savannah to all those who need to hear it. This is my purpose. The fire of knowledge had kindled Julian's spirit. This was obvious, even to an unenlightened soul such as myself. He was so passionate, so committed, and so fervent about what he was saying, that it was reflected even in his physical dimension. His transformation from a frail old litigator to a vital, young Adonis was not brought about by a simple change in his diet and a daily dose of some quick-fix exercise plan. No, it was a far deeper panacea that Julian had stumbled upon high in those majestic mountains. He had found the secret that people through the ages have been searching for. It was more than the secret of youth, fulfillment, or even happiness. Julian had discovered the secret of the self.